I don't have any other testimony to offer, Judge.
Okay, now we'll go back then. I guess it's your motion. You wish to argue the motion some more, sir?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
You know, I think there's any of us probably that aren't aware of some really major issues facing the country, if not, the planet. There's phenomenal economic problems that the country's having. Unemployment's a huge problem. You have different solutions as to how to get there, but we would all recognize that that's a big problem. In Tucson, you can't be blind to the fact that global warming is going to affect us. That's a major problem. You can't be in this city and not be aware of the problems of the foreclosures and so forth. These are issues that generally are affecting the public. And in our democratic system, people need to be able to come together and to discuss issues, to talk to their neighbors, to organize, to get messages out. And, it's in the Arizona Constitution, we actually kind of break up the free speech and assembly. We have Section 5 of our rights in Arizona is that the right of petition and of the people peaceably to assemble for the common good shall never be abridged. It's part of our Constitution in Arizona that all of the political power is inherent in the people and governments there to serve the people. It's part of our Constitution that the provisions are mandatory in our Constitution. So there really, if society is to progress, if society is to deal with the issues and to do so in a peaceable community manner, we've made a decision. And our decision is that among our most important rights is the ability to speak freely, the ability to discuss ideas, and the right to assemble for those purposes. So we have here a kind of a hierarchy. The hierarchy in our system is that the people have these rights, and then our Constitution puts those rights in big letters. You've got the right to assemble. You've got the right to freedom of speech. And to exercise those rights, where do you do it? The cases are clear. We all know that the penultimate area for assembling and exercising rights are public spaces. Maybe you can have a meeting down at the Unisource Tower, but then they tell you to leave. The streets are public, but that's not quite so useful for your teach-ins and your organizing and stuff. So really, parks are the place where it's best suited and has historically been used and is best suited for the assembly and exercise of political rights. Now, the city has asked some questions, like maybe was there somebody that wanted to use a park that didn't and stuff. But they've offered no evidence. They've offered no evidence of interference with the public, actually with the park, a group that wasn't able to use the park, a failure to accommodate other needs with the park, damage to the park. They've offered absolutely none of that evidence. So what we have is a city ordinance that, I don't know how easy it would be for me to dig it out, but this city ordinance, when you look at it, Judge, everything in there that it's related to, as I said before, there'll be rules they have on if you want to have a rodeo here, you want to have your sell beer in the park, you want to do this and that, they've got rules for that. They're here, and I don't know if you, I think you may even be able to take some judicial notice of this. But it's sort of an interesting thing to me that, like for instance, Dick Kaiser talked about how his case had been dismissed. There were some 200 cases or more that have been dismissed from Armory Park. And it's...
Isn't that because of lack of guns?
Lack of signs up, yeah. So it's kind of interesting to me where, you know, the city comes in and they say, well, you know, this is content neutral, these rules. Well, that's true in the sense that what they're suggesting is it violates everyone's political rights in that park, regardless of what it may be. And they gave a couple of hundred tickets for violating an ordinance that said there needs to be a sign posted, even when there wasn't a sign posted. So to me, that's kind of a reflective of it's kind of like a motive where they're hostile to the political expression, hostile to free speech, which is pretty normal with government, but I think that's a bit of what we're seeing there. But in any event, we have the biggest and the most important of our rights that are most useful for the public to be able to assemble for the common good. And the city has a 1030 rule that they've offered no evidence as to really the purpose of the utility of that rule. On the other hand, the Occupy people, it's part of the message, it's part of the success of the group to be able to say, look, we're occupying this space. There's issues that aren't being addressed on the agenda nationally and locally, issues that are important to the community and the people that we want discussed, and we want those issues addressed, and we want to be in a public space that's prominent where it can be seen what we're doing so that our message can get out. And we've shown that they have a message that is getting out. The public perceives, the public understands what the Occupy group is about. The public understands when they come in, you have actual evidence of it when they come in and they're giving contributions to it. People stop by and say, we can't be here all the time, but we're supporting of you. We have thousands of people on the Facebook that say, we're following, we're friending you, we're watching what's going on. So really, we have an important, needed, successful, communicative political movement where a group of people are assembling for the common good. And absolutely, this kind of activity must be supported by the courts. The oath you and I took as a lawyer, all of us, is to support the Constitution, support the right of the people, give room to breathe so that the political expression and the discussion of issues can go on. And on the other side of that, we have nothing that is in front of you except in an ordinance dealing with other stuff, somebody says 1030's the limit. And that deference to that small little rule cannot override the social importance and the high level of the Constitution and political rights that are involved. Thank you.
Let me ask this question on the ordinance, Will. The ordinance itself has punishment at the end, the 6-month deal. In fact, it says in there that the rangers can eject certain people if they violate what's in there. I'm talking about politics right now. But, for instance, they do swimming, they visit areas, if they don't do it, they can eject them.
Yeah.
You don't have any problem if somebody does puts a huge battleship on the pond out there, that could be stopped by the police, for instance. I mean, these are, you have no problem with these being legislated by the city that's in here. I'm not talking about your case.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I understand that it's in the public interest to have, park rules. I understand that.
This is not prohibit politicizing in a park, is it?
No.
Except by the 1030. You can go politic and you have free speech and you can assemble at any park at any time for like 16 hours a day.
That's absolutely correct.
It's the 8 hours that bothers you, good folks there.
It is the 8 hours that bothers us.
Yeah.
And the reason is because that really affects the effectiveness of the group. It affects the message of we're occupying here because these are issues that need to be dealt with. It affects the number of people that are involved with it. It affects activities that are useful to the group that occurs later at night. So in fact, it's the 24-hour occupation is an important part of the First Amendment message of what's going on.
I actually just the application itself.
Yeah, and the city's not giving you any reasons of what, I mean, maybe you think nothing good happens till after 10, but there's been some good political discussions there, There's stuff that is important to that group, and that's why I think, when Dick Kaiser was talking about, the city should sit down and say, hey, look, let's look at a set of rules that contemplate some political activities and what can we learn from this. But these rules here are not the result of thought out kind of information. I put in one of the legal arguments, but it's certainly, you can see how it works in this case. It wasn't even the city that, a city council mayor didn't discuss a 1030 rule. They gave Fred Gray or whoever's the parks guy, you can come up with rules. Well, maybe, the parks guy can come up with a lot of rules that might violate the First Amendment and the right to assembly. And we say that as applied, this violates the First Amendment and the assembly rights of these people.